Hey, Awkwardly Awesome podcast starts right now. Right now, actually now. Today I'm so lucky to have Bob Donnell as my guest. Get off my screen so I can read Bob's bio. Okay. Just talking low to my computer then. Bob Donnell is regarded as an authority in the area of human behavior. As a human behaviorist and interventionist, he has been instrumental in helping thousands, including me, working with teams and individuals. He helps them get even better results and move to the next level. He helps them both personally and professionally by helping them align their behaviors with the desired results they want. Please welcome Bob Donnell.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. Good to have you on Awkwardly Awesome podcast.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. I'm so honored to have you because over the years I've seen you speak, and then we become friends. But every time I hear you speak or else connect with you one-on-one, I'm always touched by your kindness, your ability to listen, and really your ability to bring out the best in other people.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from you, that's a huge compliment, Jason.
My curiosity, one of my many curiosities is you could have gone a few different ways in life. One, you could be extremely upset at life right now because life has presented a lot of challenges, thrown a lot of challenges your way, like big time challenges, but yet you still are just exuding calm confidence. You're helping people out when there's a tragedy.
I appreciate that. And you and I both know, we've discussed this. I mean, we have a personal friendship. It's not just a business relationship that we've had in the past, but we have a personal friendship. And so we both discussed this, that, everything we go through in life is the price we pay to be who we are today. Mm-hmm. And we can either look at it as a price, right? Or we can look at it as an investment, or we can look at it as a cost. And so when we look at it as a cost, we just go, well, that's just an expense. But when we look at it as investment, we go, what's the ROI on this? And so, I've been very blessed to have great mentors, just like you've had great mentors in your life, that have taught me that, the things that we go through, whether it's a death of a loved one, or whether it's a financial setback, or whether it's this COVID thing, whatever it is, the things that we go through, if we look at it as investment, we go, what's the ROI that I can gain from this by looking at it from different perspectives? But if we look at it as a cost, it's like the person that says, I've paid off my house and I just want to keep paying that monthly payment even though I've paid the house. That wouldn't be sound, that wouldn't be advisable, nor would it be desirable by anyone I know. But the bottom line is looking at it from a perspective as this is an investment. And so I, just like you, the things I've gone through have been an investment and who I've become today. And so I'm just constantly looking for the ROI.
Please, anyone as you tune in, please comment on what Bob is saying. She's profound. So before we move into the you gave me a tongue twister. Say the ROI.
ROI, return on investment. Yeah.
Yeah, return on investment. Maybe I should stick with return on investment. To put that philosophy in context, we need to know a little of what's coming away to so we understand you're not just sitting on a throne of Bob Donnell saying that you've been through it. Starting at age 15, and I forgot this part of your story. What happened at age 15?
Well, at 15, I was hit on a motorcycle by a drunk driver, put into a coma for 3 days and a wheelchair for 7 weeks. And then shortly after that, or right before that, I was told that my mom was diagnosed with cancer and was going to be given 6 months to live. But what ended up happening is she ended up living 2 years. But again, at the age of 15, I was told, hey, you're going to be an orphan, because I have no knowledge of who my dad was or is or anything else. So at 15, I was told you're going to be an orphan in 6 months. And,
So at 15, you were told you were going to be an orphan in 6 months, and then got hit by a drunk driver.
Hit by a drunk driver, put in a wheelchair for 3 weeks for 7 weeks, and a coma for 3 days.
So like, why at that point didn't you just go, life really sucks?
I think the interesting thing for me was there's always a defining moment in your life, and one of the defining moments in my life was July 19th, 1979. So I was 15, but it was before my the motorcycle accident, but it was right after I was told that my mom was going to pass away. So July 19th, 1979, I'm at a youth camp with the church. And I remember having this calling on my life, July 19th, 1979, very specific. I remember saying, I feel a calling on my life to use my life story, to use my voice, whatever that is, to impact people's lives. Now, I didn't know if that was going to be as a pastor or a youth pastor or something else, but I knew that the calling on my life was to impact people's lives. Well, what ended up happening was July 19th, 1979, the night I surrendered to that, I went to one of the local cabin counselors and said, hey, could I come in and speak to your cabin tonight? And they said, on what? And I go, I have no idea, but this is just my calling. And they said, sure. So July 1979 was my actual first gig as a speaker. And then from then on, I went to a lot of different directions. I spoke at a lot of different events. I founded a nonprofit organization at age 19, working with suicide prevention, crisis management, crisis intervention. And so all of that, though, was a trajectory that set up July 1979. And then someone asking me around my 15th, 16th birthday, a gentleman saying, Bob, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Jason, I don't know about you, but at 15, I had no idea what I wanted to be to grow up. I mean, probably wanted to be a football player or a policeman, fireman, something, who knows. But I remember asking him, I don't know, but why are you asking me at 15? Well, the thing is he knew that my mom was going to be passing away. And so he thought he would kind of set the foundation. He made a profound statement, Jason. He said to me, he says, Bob, because you can learn a product or a service or an industry, or you can learn something that drives every product, service, and industry, and you can become very, very successful and very influential in that product, service, industry. I said, well, what's that? And he said, human behavior. He said, if you understand human behavior, you can help and be helpful in any product, service, or industry. I said, well, facetiously, Jason, I kind of joked and I said, well, then sign me up. And he goes, great. What I want you to do is
well, sign me up.
Right, yeah, go ahead, sign me up. And he says, then go become a peer counselor when you return back to school. And I said, okay. And so I did. At 16, I became a peer counselor and working with, people my own age with suicide and crisis and drug addiction, all that stuff, behavior issues. And then at 19, I founded my nonprofit. So that trajectory was set forth in July 1979, knowing that I had a calling in my life to do something meaningful with my voice or whoever I was going to become in the future.
What it's a wonderful story. What tips do you have for someone like, sometimes people, including me at times, we hear our callings, but then we say, and then we talk ourselves out of it. But instead of doing that, you were in the cabin talking to your first group that night.
Yeah. I think that the best tip I can give for people is to take immediate action. If I had said, well, as soon as I get some more understanding about speaking, or as soon as I know what my topic is, or as soon as I know whatever, I might have put it off a week or 2 weeks, and then that leads to a month and 2 years, right? Take immediate and decisive action. So I said, okay, I'm going to just put myself out there. I'm going to go ask if I can speak, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do, what I'm going to share, what I'm going to speak. And I'll just kind of let, whatever's on my heart be the guidance for speaking. I think 1, taking this immediate action. 2, seeking great counsel and great wisdom with people. The pastor that was speaking at that youth camp happened to be the pastor that led me to Christ when I was in 5th grade and 4th grade. So, many years before that, 10 years before that, in a different state and everything else, and he happens to be a pastor. I remember I walked up to him. His name was Dr. Jack Johnson, amazing pastor. I walked up to him and I said, Dr. Johnson, can I visit with you? And he said, sure. And so his wife, Mary, amazing lady, invited me to their cabin, and we talked. And I said, how do you know when you're having a calling? I mean, how do you know when you're supposed to do something? Because I was already internally struggling with it. And he said, and he gave me some great wisdom, and he just encouraged me. He said, you'll know when you know, 1, and 2, when you know, be prepared to answer. And he said,
be prepared to answer.
Be prepared to answer. So when you get that calling, if you just ignore the calling, eventually it's kind of like that. If you don't use it, you lose it. At some point, you have to answer that calling. And so that night, July 1979, I remember him speaking up on the stage, and I remember feeling this overwhelming. It wasn't just a quiet voice like people, talk. It was this overwhelming. If I don't do this, I will forever regret not doing it. And I said, I've got to do this. So I went up and I said, look, I don't know what it means. I don't know if I'm going to be a pastor. I just know that I've got a calling in my life. I need to do something with it. And I just want to say that I'm open to that now. And so I surrendered that. So, but that was a great moment. That was a defining moment. But boy, many things have happened since then. And so many times, we get this calling, or we get this desire to do something. We get a desire to start a business. We get a desire to go and reach out to the military. We go out and we want to reach people. We get the desire, but then we don't take action. So that's a decisive action. And then what happens is it just dissipates. We lose interest, or we get sidetracked, or we get just preoccupied. Life throws us curveballs, and I've had a ton of curveballs like yourself, and we have to be able to say, how can I stay the course? Jason, the best thing that happened was the way to stay the course is to know that you've been called, and then to say, but no matter what, those are all distractions. My calling is X. And then to go back to this. So many times I've walked away, and many times I've come back. Coming back is the key.
coming back is the key. I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I've taken immediate and decisive action, and I've had great anticipation of having this huge result, and the result is a flop.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what do you do then when the result isn't what you had hoped for?
I think the idea for me is always to say what I have to ask myself better questions. So, in any of my courses, I'm talking about the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of connections you make. The quality of connections will always be determined by the quality of questions you ask. So the connection with myself or someone else has to be the precipice is the great questions. So in a situation where something has not worked out the way I want it to be, I always say, one, what can I learn from this that I can apply going forward?
What can I learn from this that I can apply going forward?
And I think that's one of the biggest things for me is what can I learn that I can apply? Because I think there's a lot of times we learn something, but we don't ever apply it. And knowledge is not power, as we all know. Applied knowledge is what's powerful. And so it's not just that what can I learn? It's like what can I learn that I can take forward and use forward, use in my relationships, use in my business, use in my health, use in my finances, use in my coaching business or my speaking business. What can I learn from this situation that I can take forward and use in a powerful way?
So speaking of learning, what did you learn from being hit by that drunk driver?
Probably
And the
it's,
recovery that you've
yeah.
used in your life.
I think, what I learned was being aware. Just because I'm in the middle of an intersection does not mean that somebody else won't be in the middle of an intersection at the same time. And so being more aware. And I think that's, being a better driver. I mean, I was driving fine, but unfortunately I wasn't taking into consideration that somebody else wasn't, that somebody else was impaired. So being more aware, which I think is a great lesson for us to learn. And no matter what's going on in our lives, being more aware, I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And also I think what I learned then was that God has a way of getting our attention. And it may not always be the way we want the attention to be got.
It might not always be comfortable.
Might not be comfortable, and I think that's one of the things is if God is asking us to slow down and we don't, He'll slow us down. And maybe that's what's happening with COVID. I mean, maybe that's what's happening in a lot of people's lives right now, where they just weren't paying attention to what's going on and they lost sight of what's important. And I'm not saying that this is all inclusive, but I'm saying there's some perspectives that we could look at and say, was I going so fast that I wasn't paying attention? Was I paying attention to the wrong things versus the things that are really important? And maybe if we just look at COVID, or maybe we look at, a downturn in our personal economy, or we look at an upset in our relationships or something else, that we can look at it and go, what can I learn from this that I can take forward and use in a meaningful way?
Someone listening right now might be saying, "Hey, Bob, glad you mentioned COVID. I've been feeling a calling this year. It's I've had time to slow down, really to listen, and I'm feeling a calling. But gosh, I'm busy social distancing. I'm worried about economic stuff. Should I just wait until things get better to take the next step?"
Well, that goes back to the first thing, the first point. Take an immediate action. So,
But
if
doesn't that have a caveat for 2020?
I don't believe so. See, here's what I think. I think that one of the coolest things about 2020 is, we talk about Zoom, like you and I are doing, or Zoom, or or any of these platforms, these social media, these video chants, right? StreamYards, right?
StreamYard.
So we think about those and we go, I remember last year I'd asked somebody, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call. Oh, can we just make a phone call? Now Zoom or video conferencing like this, StreamYard, has become so accepted that people that would never accept it before have now accepted it. So I look and go, what a huge benefit that now people are willing to hop on a platform like this where we can actually have a greater impact, because now it's not just one-on-one, and it's not just 1 on 10, and it's not just the people in our immediate area. Now we literally can do business. We always could do business elsewhere, but now it's almost become more acceptable for people to do business with us via the internet.
And we're talking not just the United States, we're talking we can Zoom with anyone around the world.
Yeah.
Including Antarctica, probably.
Yep. Yeah, so I love that aspect of it. But again, if we just sat back and said, oh, it's COVID. Oh, my gosh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this. And we never said, well, what can I do? And can I do something now in even a more meaningful way? I think it goes back down to, Dr. Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, right? What is the meaning of this? And it's really, what is the meaning that I've attributed to this? Because it's not so much what the meaning of that event is. It's what meaning have I attributed to it, and then I can use that. I was talking with somebody earlier this morning where, they were talking about something that's going on in their life, and they're saying, this is what's going on, and because I went through this divorce and everything, I said, well, what did it mean to go through a divorce? And they're like, well, he cheated on me and he did this, and no. What did the event? What did it mean to go through the divorce? And I said, because as long as you say it's because he cheated on me, you are now always subject to what somebody else did or what he did. Versus if you take that same situation and go, what part did I have in this situation? What part did I play? How could I take this and utilize it moving forward? Whole different ball game. And as we discussed it, I said, as long as you say that, what will happen is, when my kids go back to school, I'll be able to go back, get back to work. Well, that means you can't get back to work until your kids go back to school. When I have more money, I'll be happy. Well, that means you can't be happy until you have more money. You can't say one thing and not accept the consequences in every other area of your life.
Can't say. You can't say one thing and accept the consequences in every other area of your life.
No.
What you're saying is so powerful, but as humans find it hard to implement.
Yeah, and brother, one of my biggest statements is that I'm so flawed, I'm perfectly flawed. So flawed that I'm perfectly flawed. So I don't live this perfectly, but I can tell you this: I live it more consistently than I ever did before, and I can tell you this: that I live it in such a way that people are allowed to see my flaws. The thing that I've done is I've surrounded myself with people like you, Jason. I've surrounded myself with people that see my flaws and can know the worst of the worst of the worst about me and choose to love me anyways. And I think that's what we're talking about when we're talking about I'm perfectly flawed, right? Not hiding our flaws, not hiding behind our flaws, but allowing people to see those flaws, but then choosing to surround ourselves with people that see the flaws and choose to love us anyways. That's the key.
So that's what imperfect best means to you? People who see the flaws and choose to love us anyway?
I think that's one of the caveats of imperfectly best. Awkwardly awesome to me is, as we've talked about so much, is this idea that you can be awesome and awkward at the same time. That we can be imperfect and not have to hide it, not have to act like it doesn't exist, but to accept it and then to show it in such a way that people are drawn to you. Jason, I've seen you speak on stage. I have seen you in private settings. I've had one-on-one coffee with you. I've spent a lot of time with you. And the one thing I can tell you is people are drawn to Jason Freeman, not the speaker, not the coach, not the intellect. They're drawn to Jason Freeman, and that's awkwardly awesome. That's imperfect at best. Those are all those things. They're drawn to you, the human being. And I love that, because one of the best things I know about us is that we're all human and we're all human beings. And so if we've got people that are attracted to us because we're being human, we're attracting the right people. If people aren't attracted to us because we're being human, those probably weren't the right people to begin with.
And it's so hard to try and be perfect in this life. It just doesn't seem to work that well.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I wanted to ask you about a few more things before we go. And this is an awkwardly awesome silence right now. I'm getting talking about a value of being human and having a life as long or as short as it lasts. Please tell me about your daughter Macy, who I feel I know and love, even though I never had the opportunity to meet her.
Yeah, Macy was a very, very special little girl. She, she loved life. She had a lot of fun. At 3 years old, I witnessed a car accident of the car in front of me that happened to be carrying her at the time, and so I witnessed a car accident that left my daughter unable to breathe on her own. So I breathed for her until the paramedics got there. And she passed away. Again, you look at that and you go, that's such a tragedy, and there's no way of recovery. I mean, I talk to so many people and they say, I don't know that I could even survive something like that. And I go, well, it depends on what your reason for survival is. See, my reason for survival after that is to carry on a legacy, is to go out and share about organ donation, is to go out and share about valuing the people in your life, about sharing the time that you have, no matter how limited it is. There's a Garth Brooks song called The Dance, and it says, yes, my life is better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. And I wrote on the back of a business card, I wrote that first part, and then I said, Macy, you're the one dance I would never wish to miss, no matter how short the song was. And I think at that moment, it became very abundantly clear to me that I can look at this as an investment, or I can look at it as an expense. If I just sit around and waller about the fact that my daughter's no longer with me, and how much pain I'm in and everything else, or do I use it for the benefit of others, including my other 3 children, including my ability to go out and relate to people on a different perspective. There are people that have lost children, or lost someone in their life, or lost something meaningful in their life, and I may not have the ability to effectively relate to them without that loss that I encountered. And so looking at that and saying, is this the price I've paid? And then what's the return on that investment that I've made?
So with this attitude that you embody, and you've even recently you've gone out to places and helped to just volunteer to help during times of of tragedy, like after a mass shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's pain. That's pain, the gift of Macy's life forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been very blessed to be in some of those situations. You know, people say, how can you say that's blessed? I mean, you know, and I think I'm blessed because I have a set of tools that I've learned over the course of years through the tragedies in my life. I have a set of tools that I can impart to others. So I consider it a blessing that I'm in a position to do that versus sometimes people say something to us, and you know, Jason, you and I both have probably been in that situation many times where somebody says something to us, we just don't know how to respond. And the best thing I've learned over the course of years is, like we talked about, being aware. When I'm at one of the mass shootings, like at Saugus High School or at Vegas or any of these places, El Paso, Walmart, any of those places, the number one thing I practice is just being present. I sit, I stand, I listen. I don't talk much, and it's just that practice of being present, and then asking great questions. So I give you an example. There was a young lady at the shooting in Las Vegas, and it was in the middle of the Las Vegas Boulevard, and there were all these crosses, and there was this memorial, and there was this young girl, and she's sitting there, she's standing there, she's just weeping. Now, my purpose is not to go out and try and intervene or, you know, but my question is just to be present there. My purpose is to be, as I was being present, I could feel like she was just weeping and she just wanted to say something. And I just turned to her and I said, you know, can I ask you a question? How well did you know her? And just that simple question, Jason, let me explain what happened. She looked at me immediately and said, she was my best friend in high school. And I said, can you share like a really meaningful thing? What was one of the best memories you have with her? She immediately pulled out her phone and she went, oh my gosh, on prom, I didn't have a date, and her and her boyfriend invited me to come to the prom, and look at all these pictures. And she started just scrolling through these pictures, one after the other, about and showing these pictures of them at prom. One, I wanted to change the tone of what was going on. Two, I wanted her to celebrate this memory that she was having of this wonderful young lady. And the third thing, and the most important, is I really wanted to learn and understand and have empathy, so that I could have true empathy. I needed to know where she was coming from. And you know, when I go to a situation like that, that practice of just being present, that practice of asking meaningful questions, and then shutting up and being present enough to hear the answer. You know, I let her talk, and then I let her talk some more, and I let her show some pictures and then some more pictures. And the bottom line was, I gave her a space to have a voice, and I gave her a space to let her voice be heard.
And you didn't say, oh yeah, you've had this tragedy, now listen to my tragedies.
Yeah.
You gave her space to tell her story. You didn't block it or try and trump her story with your own.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jason. I get asked all the time. Somebody will be like, you know, that person was just sharing about they lost a child. And I'm like, yeah. And they go, why didn't you tell them that you lost a child? And I said, because that wasn't their story. I was letting them tell their story. That was my story. And they always go, but yeah, but wouldn't that make it more relatable? And I'm like, they don't need somebody to relate that they've lost a child too. What they need somebody is to hear what they're saying and then respond accordingly with love and empathy. And, you know, there might come a time later when that story, you know, this little boy that went missing 3 days, and we were looking for him in Idaho a couple of months ago. And then he passed, you know, he was found in the bottom of the lake. He had drowned. Well, I never told them that I lost a child. I said, I'm here to help. What can I do? How can I serve you? How can I help? And, you know, worked with the police department, worked with the search and rescue, and worked with those. I said, how can I help you? It was only after It was after they found him and he passed away. It was almost a month later that I was having an interaction with him. And I said, I just want to let you know now that my daughter passed away. And so while you're going through this, I just want you to know you have somebody that you can reach out to who has been in a similar situation. And if there's anything of value that I can bring, I would love to be one of those resources for you. Now, that was after the fact, because it wasn't important to them while they were searching for her. It wasn't even important to them the first 30 days after they had found the little boy. It was important to them because going forward, they're going to need some sounding boards.
Before we wrap it up, I would be utterly remiss if I didn't ask you, what would you say to someone who's going through a really rough time right now, and possibly contemplating taking action against their own life?
The first thing I would say is stop. Just stop. The second thing I would say is distance yourself between that decision, that action you're thinking about taking, and the action itself. So distance, it might mean, let's just say that we're not going to do that today. Now that gives us some time to actually work on what's going on, what we're feeling, how we're going to deal with it. But distance that. It's the law of diminishing intent in reverse. Law of diminishing intent says the distance between the time of decision and the time of action will determine the likelihood it will ever occur. I'm going to go back to college 5 years from now. I'm going to, whatever, it's not going to happen. The likelihood is so far removed. But when we say, okay, I'm going to, and I've worked with a lot of suicide prevention, when they say, I want to commit suicide, I want to do, well, then if we can get them to delay that, the time of decision, time of action determines the likelihood it will ever occur. So we can actually dissipate that immediately by helping them just pause and say, okay, not today, not right now, I'm not going to do this. The third thing is, if you're contemplating that, reach out. Find somebody that you can trust, that you can just talk to. Maybe it's a mental health professional. There's 1-800-suicide lines. There's constant places like that. And here's the other thing: is I would say, really let people know what's going on in your life. I know that the whole idea of taking your life is so taboo and all this other stuff. But the bottom line, there's way more people that care about what happens to you than what you said. Way more people care about what happens to you than what you just said. And so if you can just reach out and just let somebody know, maybe a pastor, maybe a priest, maybe a family member, maybe somebody that has extreme compassion, that that you trust, that you love, and you can just say, hey, look, I'm going through this right now and I'm not feeling really good. And if you say, I'm feeling like I just don't want to be here anymore, that's okay. That's just a feeling that you're having. It doesn't mean that you had to act on it. Express that feeling. I remember walking into an 80-year-old woman who had said she wanted to commit suicide over and over again. Their family called me in. I walked in. I said, so you're the one that wants to commit suicide? And her whole family was like, whoa. I mean, like, serious? And I'm like, you know what? It's not like she doesn't know. She's the one that said it. And so it kind of gave a space for us to talk openly and honestly, versus trying to tiptoe around. Don't make people tiptoe. Just tell them, and then let them help you. And I think that's the final piece. Be willing to accept the help, even if it's just them being willing to sit and listen. Even if it's just them saying, "Hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee." Maybe they're not going to solve the problem. They're not going to solve that you just went through a bad breakup. They're not going to solve that you had a financial problem. They're not going to solve that you had a mental breakdown or you're having a mental emotional breakdown right then. What they're going to do is they're going to give you some space to make different decisions. And making that different decision is typically provided by having some space to do so.
Wow. Wow. So that's all so powerful, And Willie, you're talking about different techniques of creating space for yourself, really slowing down and giving yourself a chance to accept help and also for your voice to be heard.
And it's applicable in every area of our life, Jason, as you know. It's applicable in every area of our life. Hey, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. I wake up in the morning, I go, man, I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm tired. It's cold outside. I don't want to go out to the gym. What have we done? We've just entertained the conversation of not going to the gym. But what if we just got up, put our shoes on, grabbed our keys, got in our car, and went to the gym? Well, taking that decisive action, right, precludes and stops the conversation of, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It's cold outside. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm worn out. Whatever it is, it stops that because we've taken decisive action. The cool thing is when we stack the pain, as Tony Robbins talks about, when we stack the pain in the right place, we make better decisions. So if I don't want to go to the gym because it's cold outside and I'm tired and I don't feel like working out, where am I stacking the pain? I'm stacking it in going to the gym. So the chances of us going to the gym are very slim. But if we stack the pain in, what if I go to the gym, or what if I don't go to the gym? How am I going to feel? Well, I'm going to feel sluggish. I'm going to feel like my clothes don't fit. I'm going to feel a lack of energy. I'm going to feel tired. I'm going to feel more lethargic. My gosh, then I'm getting up and going to the gym. Why? Because I've stacked the pain in not going to the gym. Therefore, I will go to the gym. So it's those little things that we can do, entertaining the right conversation at the right time and taking decisive actions.
So am I getting this right? Are you right now talking yourself into walking 30 miles with
No,
me?
I'm going to leave that to you.
What?
I'm going to leave that to you.
Oh.
Brother, you are a hero. The fact that you walk and so many miles and that you do that, I mean, and I say so facetiously, no, that's not something that I feel called to do. If it was, I would be doing it. But I tell you this, you are setting such a powerful testimony for people. I've been with you. I know that your walk, your gait to walk is different than most people's, and yet you do it anyways. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that you teach people is no matter if it's perfect or it's imperfect or it's awkward or it's perfectly fine. The bottom line is you just do it anyways. And I've always appreciated and respected that about you, whether it's standing on a stage and speaking, whether it's walking 26 miles, or whether it's just sitting down and having coffee or doing an interview like this. I mean, how many people with your speech impediment would say, oh, well, I can be a coach. I can be a speaker. I can do a podcast. So few. But yet, you know what? That's what separates you. That's what makes you so amazing and such an amazing human being and such an amazing friend.
Thank you, brother, and thanks for being on today. If I somehow wrote fast and had a notebook, right now it will be filled with notes because you've not only talked about this stuff, you've lived this stuff, and the combination is just so powerful.
Thank you.
If people want to reach you, is everythingnextlevel.com.
Everythingnextlevel.com. Yeah, it's a great way. My contact sheet's there so they can get my phone number, my email, all of that stuff. But everythingnextlevel.com has almost any of the information they would want.
This is seamless. Okay. Thanks so much, brother. I look forward to talking with you again.
Likewise, brother. I love you. I appreciate you. And give your mom and dad a hug and wish them the best. And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, bro. Give Flo a hug, okay?
I will.
So now the outro, which is here.